In an era marked by escalating geopolitical tensions and economic competition, Taiwan's president has issued a stern warning regarding China's increasing influence and infiltration efforts on the island. This warning comes amid a broader context of U.S. China relations where trade and diplomatic strategies are being scrutinized and recalibrated. As President Tsai Ing-wen emphasized in her recent address, Taiwan is committed to countering any such infiltration with decisive measures to safeguard its democratic values and sovereignty. President Tsai's remarks come at a time when China is intensifying its attempts to sway Taiwan's political landscape through various channels, including disinformation campaigns and economic pressure. We must remain vigilant against the covert tactics employed by Beijing to undermine our democratic institutions, Tsai stated, highlighting the urgency for Taiwan to strengthen its defenses against these encroachments. Her administration is advocating for greater public awareness and resilience against such strategies, reinforcing the notion that Taiwan's democracy cannot be taken for granted. Simultaneously, the dynamics of U.S. China relations are shifting, particularly as former President Donald Trump has returned to the political arena, attempting to reshape the narrative around trade and security. Recently, Trump has linked tariffs on Chinese imports to the ongoing crisis surrounding fentanyl trafficking, a move that has drawn sharp criticism from Beijing. Chinese officials have vehemently rejected these claims, asserting that their efforts to address the fentanyl issue have been met with ungratefulness and punitive measures from the U.S. The U.S. should not meet good with evil or even impose arbitrary tariffs, stated Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Echoing the sentiments of officials who are increasingly frustrated with the deteriorating bilateral relations. Analysts note that the United States' approach under Trump's leadership reflects a broader shift towards an illiberal stance that complicates potential diplomatic engagements with China. As trade tensions mount, the geopolitical landscape could further evolve, leading to a recalibration of alliances and strategies that affect not only economic factors but also national security considerations. Trump's administration's focus on linking economic policy to issues like drug trafficking signifies a strategic pivot that could have far-reaching implications for U.S. China negotiations. Moreover, the current situation in Taiwan serves as a critical focal point in this broader narrative. As Taiwan faces external pressures from China, the island's strategic importance in the Indo-Pacific region has never been more pronounced. The U.S. has reiterated its commitment to supporting Taiwan, which it views as a crucial partner in maintaining stability in the region. The potential for increased military cooperation and economic ties between the U.S. and Taiwan could serve as a counterbalance to China's assertiveness. In light of these developments, the future remains uncertain. As Taiwan fortifies its defenses against infiltration while navigating the complexities of U.S. China relations, observers will be watching closely to see how these dynamics unfold. The interplay of diplomacy, economic policies, and regional security will undoubtedly shape not only the future of Taiwan but also the broader geopolitical landscape in the coming years. The need for vigilance and strategic foresight has never been more critical as nations grapple with the realities of an increasingly interconnected yet fragmented world order. As American politics increasingly polarize, echoes are reverberating across the Pacific, prompting some Chinese citizens to confront uncomfortable historical realities. Online discussions among netizens have begun to invoke references to China's Cultural Revolution, a period fraught with violence and societal upheaval, as they draw parallels to the contemporary political climate in the United States, particularly the era of Donald Trump. This engagement with historical taboos reflects a broader trend of political introspection among the Chinese populace as they navigate the complexities of censorship and expression within Xi Jinping's regime. The Cultural Revolution, which spanned from 1966 to 1976, remains a sensitive topic in China. Millions suffered persecution and many met their deaths at the hands of radical factions unleashed by then-leader Mao Zedong. Under Xi, discussion of this dark chapter is increasingly labeled as historical nihilism, a term the government uses to condemn perspectives that might undermine the Communist Party's legitimacy. Yet, The current political atmosphere in the U.S., characterized by division and populism, has provided an unexpected avenue for Chinese citizens to reflect on their own history without the usual constraints of government censorship. In this context, the phrase "to rebel is justified," which has surfaced in various online discussions, highlights a growing sentiment among some Chinese that questioning authority may be necessary in the face of perceived injustice. As conversations about American politics unfold online, they often carry the weight of historical reflection, with users comparing figures like Trump to the tumultuous leaders of China's past. This cultural and political exploration is not limited to China. On the island of Taiwan, tensions have likewise escalated in the face of increasing Chinese influence. Recently, a group of Taiwanese entertainers found themselves under investigation for reposting comments by China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, who referred to Taiwan as a province of China. This incident marked a significant escalation, as it was the first time the Taiwanese government sought to penalize artists for engaging with content that undermined Taiwan's sovereignty. The backlash on both sides of the strait was immediate, reflecting the delicate balance these entertainers must maintain in a charged political environment. While such reposting has occurred in the past without consequence, the Taiwanese government's decision to investigate underscores a shifting landscape in cross-strait relations, where even cultural expressions are now scrutinized for their political implications. Meanwhile, as the political dynamics in the region evolve, Georgia finds itself at a crossroads with the announcement of a Chinese port project on the Black Sea. This decision made by the Georgian government has ignited controversy and debate about the nation's growing ties with China, particularly as it pertains to its relationships with the West. The port, which will be developed by China Communications Construction Company, represents a pivotal shift in Georgia's economic alignment, moving away from partnerships with Western firms. Critics argue that this decision jeopardizes Georgia's aspirations for closer ties with the U.S. and the European Union, a sentiment echoed by former Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili, who deemed the move a betrayal of the country's Western allies. As Georgia navigates its geopolitical landscape, the implications of its move toward China resonate with broader themes of economic dependency and political sovereignty. The port project is expected to transform Georgia into a significant transport hub connecting Europe and Asia, but it also raises concerns about increasing economic reliance on China and the potential for Russian influence to resurface. In conclusion, the interplay of American political dynamics with historical reflection in China. The intricate cultural landscape in Taiwan and the geopolitical shifts in Georgia illustrate a world increasingly defined by the legacies of the past and the uncertainties of the future. As these narratives unfold, they challenge societies to reconsider their identities, allegiances, and the lessons of history. The coming years will likely see continued exploration of these themes as countries and individuals grapple with their pasts while navigating the complexities of an interconnected global landscape. In an era where global economic dynamics are shifting rapidly, the prospect of a new currency deal among major economies is gaining traction, reminiscent of pivotal agreements from the past. Recent discussions have emerged surrounding the possibility of a Mar-a-Lago Accord, as proposed by Stephen Miron, the incoming chairman of the Council of Economic Advisers under former President Trump. This proposal is not merely an echo of the 1985 Plaza Accord, where finance ministers from leading economies convened to devalue the U.S. dollar. It represents a complex and potentially contentious negotiation landscape shaped by contemporary geopolitical realities. Miron's assertion that the overvaluation of the U.S. dollar is at the core of current economic discontent underscores the urgency of the situation. He argues that a weaker dollar could bolster U.S. exports, making them more competitive in the global market. This strategy is particularly appealing to proponents of a weak dollar policy, who contend that it could help rectify the U.S. trade deficit, which has become a focal point for Trump's administration. The strong dollar creates international trade imbalances that handicap U.S. manufacturers, Miron stated, indicating a clear desire to recalibrate the balance of trade through currency adjustments. However, the intricacies of modern trade relationships pose significant challenges to achieving such a consensus. Unlike the 1980s, When the U.S. held strong security ties with its negotiating partners, France, Germany, Japan, and the UK, the current landscape includes nations like China and Mexico which do not depend on U.S. military support. This shift complicates the negotiation process as these countries may not feel incentivized to engage in currency adjustments under the threat of tariffs alone. Iran has suggested using tariffs as a bargaining chip to compel nations to the negotiation table, believing that concerns over tariff costs could drive them to reconsider their currency policies. However, he acknowledges that tariffs alone may not suffice. He proposes linking U.S. security guarantees to the financial commitments of these countries, suggesting that they could fund the U.S. security umbrella by purchasing U.S. treasuries. This approach would not only aim to depreciate the dollar but also mitigate the inflationary impacts of tariffs. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has echoed this sentiment, arguing for a shared commitment to currency goals as a condition for continued U.S. security guarantees. Yet the path to such an accord is fraught with obstacles. Countries like China are particularly wary of the implications of a currency deal reminiscent of the Plaza Accord, as they fear repeating Japan's experience of economic stagnation following currency appreciation. The term Japanification has become a cautionary tale in Beijing, where economic indicators such as deflation, capital flight, and dwindling consumer demand suggest a fragile economic state. China is thus hesitant to allow the renminbi to appreciate, particularly amid ongoing trade tensions with the U.S. Moreover, as China grapples with its economic recovery, the notion of a weaker dollar might not align with its strategic goals. Beijing remains reliant on its export sector to stimulate growth, and any changes to the renminbi that could diminish export competitiveness are viewed with skepticism. The current economic climate in China, characterized by sluggish demand and a cautious approach to currency policy, further complicates the potential for fruitful negotiations. The idea of a Mar-a-Lago Accord may resonate with Trump, who has historical ties to the Plaza Hotel, but the path forward will require more than just tariffs and security threats. As nations navigate the complexities of their economic ties, the question remains: what incentives can be offered to encourage cooperation on currency issues? The answers to this question will likely shape the future of global economic relations, particularly as the balance of power continues to evolve in the coming years. As discussions unfold, the international community will be watching closely to see if a new agreement can materialize and redefine the contours of global trade and finance. In a significant move to bolster Taiwan's national security, President Lai Ching-te convened a high-level national security meeting on March 13, 2025, during which he outlined a comprehensive strategy to address escalating threats from China. The meeting followed increasing concerns over China's military intimidation, infiltration efforts, and attempts to undermine Taiwan's sovereignty and national identity. President Lai introduced 17 major strategies focused on countering 5 primary threats: the infringement of national sovereignty, infiltration and espionage activities targeting the military, efforts to obscure the national identity of Taiwanese citizens, united front, infiltration through cross-strait exchanges, and economic coercion aimed at Taiwanese businesspeople and youth. He expressed a resolute commitment to protect Taiwan's democratic way of life and called for unity among citizens to resist division. "Our sovereignty is anchored in the will of our people," President Lai stated, emphasizing that the future of the Republic of China Taiwan is to be determined solely by its 23 million citizens. He urged all citizens to enhance their media literacy, engage in civic education, and expose any efforts that threaten national interests. "As long as we work together, nothing can defeat us," he affirmed. The context for these strategies is the increasing assertiveness of China, which has long sought to assert control over Taiwan. Recent reports from Taiwan's National Security Bureau highlighted a troubling rise in espionage cases, with 64 individuals charged for spying activities in 2024, a significant increase from previous years. The military has also been targeted, with active and retired personnel implicated in espionage schemes. In addressing these infiltration threats, the president announced plans to reform military trial laws, enhance the prosecution of military crimes, and review the management of identification documents for Taiwanese citizens who apply for residency in China. These measures aim to safeguard Taiwan's national identity and prevent united front operations that seek to manipulate public perception. Furthermore, the president acknowledged the risks associated with cross-strait exchanges, particularly regarding Taiwanese nationals who have gone missing or been detained in China. He called for improved public awareness and transparency concerning exchanges involving public officials and civil society organizations, emphasizing the need for stringent oversight to prevent foreign interference. As part of Taiwan's response to economic threats, President Lai urged the National Security Council and relevant agencies to prioritize strategies that bolster Taiwan's economic security while encouraging youth engagement and investment in local industries. He highlighted the importance of maintaining a robust economic framework that is less reliant on China, advocating for a Taiwan-first approach in economic relations. In closing, President Lai reiterated the need for a collective effort to defend Taiwan's sovereignty, stressing that every citizen plays an integral role in this defense. Only through solidarity can we resist being divided, he concluded, indicating that the path forward lies in unity and proactive engagement against external threats. As Taiwan navigates these complex geopolitical challenges, the government's commitment to strengthening national defense and societal resilience will be crucial in maintaining its democratic principles and ensuring the safety of its citizens. The strategies laid out by President Lai not only reflect an urgent response to current threats but also set the stage for future developments in Taiwan's security and international relations. In a significant diplomatic warning, China's ambassador to Japan Wu Jianghao has urged Tokyo not to leverage its improving relations with Beijing as a strategic hedge against uncertainties in its ties with the United States. His remarks made during the recent two sessions in Beijing underscore the delicate balance of power in East Asia and the intricate dynamics shaping China-Japan relations. Ambassador Wu emphasized that Japan's relationships with both the U.S. and China hold equal importance, cautioning against viewing one as a counterbalance to the other. It is wrong and undermines the foundations of China-Japan relations to use China to hedge against changes in the U.S. and great uncertainties in the U.S.-Japan alliance, he stated. He further elaborated that both nations are major global powers and that their ties should not be perceived as conflicting or antagonistic. Historically, the normalization of diplomatic relations between China and Japan did not hinge on the U.S.-Japan alliance, Wu pointed out. He articulated that while Beijing does not impose demands regarding Japan's alliance with the U.S., it is crucial that this alliance is not wielded as a tool for confrontation against China. This assertion comes amidst a backdrop of growing concerns regarding regional security and the potential repercussions of a militarized stance from either side. The ambassador's warning resonates amid the increasingly fraught geopolitical climate in East Asia, where Japan's strategic choices are closely watched by both allies and adversaries. As Japan continues to navigate its relationship with the U.S., the stakes are high not only for bilateral ties but also for broader regional stability. Wu's comments reflect a growing realization in Beijing that Japan's security posture, particularly in light of increasing military cooperation with the U.S., has implications for Sino-Japanese relations. The ambassador's call for a balanced approach speaks to a desire for a more cooperative framework, one that avoids the pitfalls of miscalculation and escalating tensions. As the world watches closely, the future of China-Japan relations will likely hinge on both nations' ability to engage in constructive dialogue while managing their respective alliances. The potential for a more collaborative relationship could serve as a stabilizing force in a region marked by complex challenges, including North Korea's nuclear ambitions and territorial disputes in the South China Sea. In conclusion, as China and Japan grapple with their historical legacies and strategic realities, the coming months will be critical. The ambassador's remarks highlight the necessity for both nations to seek a path of mutual respect and understanding, one that fosters regional peace rather than division. As diplomatic efforts continue, the international community will be keenly observing the developments that may reshape the future of Sino-Japanese relations and their broader implications for global geopolitics.